5 minutes later, I was like, I don't want to sit and talk to myself for 5 minutes.
You can always entertain people, like talk about like why TypeScript is better than JavaScript, for example.
No. I can't. There's no way.
You never tried?
Oh, because there's no good arguments to share about this topic, this particular topic. So
I mean, that's debatable. Yeah. That's sure.
So apparently Heiko cannot join today.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if Sergio will be joining or not. But
let's see.
Don't know who might be joining. Maybe Jesse Manin. I don't know.
Maybe I could just give an update maybe on so we don't have anything for the agenda, so if any of you folks have anything you want to bring up, go for it. Otherwise, I think I can give a rough update. Okay.
Yes, please.
Yes, one thing. So Heiko was saying on the channel today that he wanted to bring on the topic of we should not be using Avro for headers or defining headers. That doesn't make sense, and so on. I replied on the channel, but I just want to continue the conversation here. So I replied saying that it makes sense because Kafka users use Avro for both things, right? For headers and for payload. So, and schema registry supports it. Confluent schema registry supports it. So yeah, then it makes sense.
And it's not a big deal. Like if you're gonna support conversion from Avro to JSON schema for payload, then
no, I guess he meant that so that yeah, like if we I mean I'm speaking for himself, so I'm not sure if he meant that or not. But I'm assuming that his concern is that if Avro is possible, then protobuf should be possible there as well, right? Or might be possible as well there, and yeah, that's not usually the case. I've never seen that, so yeah, or might be, I don't know. I really don't know much about gRPC and protobuf, so yeah, but might be that they define headers with protobuf. Who knows?
I have no idea, actually.
In any case, what doesn't make sense is that we define, for instance, server variables and channel parameters and all this stuff with with any schema language. That's an overkill to me. Like, that's too much. That's something async API specific. These things don't go beyond async API, right? So not unlike headers and payload, these things are going beyond async API scope, right? But channel parameters, it's something for async API, nothing else. And server variables, something. This is for us. So let's just keep it simple and offer just one way to do it, and that's it.
Yeah, so you're basically talking about you wanted a simple, like not having two schemas, for one for headers basically and one for payloads, and having two different sets, right?
What?
No?
I don't understand what you said. Can you repeat?
So what I understood from what you said, you agree that you should be able to have Avro in headers, or defined as in headers, right?
Uh-huh.
And you also like the idea of not having two distinct ways of defining schemas, as far as I understand as well, right? Because at the moment, when you define headers, there's nothing called schema format. There's nothing that exists in that area where you can define something different, right?
Yeah. Oh, true. Yeah. As
So
of
you
now,
want to standardize those things, right?
as of today, schema format only affects the payload, but not the headers. Yeah.
Yes.
Huh.
Same with parameters.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. But parameters and several variables should be like completely different thing. Like they should be a different beast. I don't think they should even be schemas, but yeah.
Well,
they should be like.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
They should be like super simplified versions of a schema. So much that it doesn't make sense to call them schemas.
But don't you think there is merit to having, not that I've seen so much of it, but for example, for parameters or for headers for that matter, wouldn't it be a use case that you can constrain a string, for example, into
For
a specific for header values or parameters? Or
yeah, you can have enums. I mean, for headers, I will give it the same let's say priority as in payload. Headers and payload to me are the same thing in terms of like they both should be first class citizens, right? So headers and payload could be defined with Avro. So we should allow people to have schemas, full schemas in the headers and so on. That's completely fine. What I mean is that for server variables and for parameters, channel parameters, those two things, in my opinion, should not be called schemas. You know, like, I mean, not called schemas. We can call them schemas, but they should be used like super simplified versions of a schema, like enums, default, the type, maybe not even the type, because yeah, in the end, everything is a string. Once you are in a channel parameter, everything is a string. Once you are in a server variable, everything is a string. So it reaches a point where everything is a string. But yeah, that's debatable. Maybe type is okay. It's okay there. But that's it. Maybe an enum, maybe a default, and a description and a type, and that's it. And I don't think, I don't know, maybe you can have minimum and maximum in case there's a number. That's it. I don't think anyone else will have any other needs, like any other needs for that specific value, right? Like value in my channel parameter, it's super complex to validate or super complex to define. No, most probably. I mean, in my whole career, all I've seen is this is just dynamic value. This is just a dynamic string, and it means that. That's it. I don't care. It's a string. It's not even constrained, or at most it's constrained to a few set of values, and that's it. Like for instance, here you can have the channel for the US, for Europe, and for whatever. So there you can put US, EU, and whatever other values, but that's it. So that's all I've seen in my whole career, that you really have that simple kind of sets on the channel. Maybe the user ID, maybe one part of the channel name is the user ID or whatever ID, and then it's a number. That's it. That's all I've seen.
Yeah, so you're basically talking about having only structure there. Instead of constraint rules, you want structure. Like you want to define the structure.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Could be a constraint as well, if you think about it. It's a constraint, but it's a super simple constraint. Yeah, it's a super simple constraint. It is not like, I don't think we should be supporting in channel parameters of server variables like all of, any of, not, if, then, else, not to mention Avro, protobuf, and all this stuff, right? That would be way too much, right? For those specific things. That doesn't make sense to me. It's just, it's too much. I will honestly make it super simple and test it and see if people complain and request support for something else. And if they request support for something else, then we add it. and then we add it, and then we add it, and if at some point it becomes a schema, then we can then go back to schema definition. Like, this is a schema because people are asking for it, because people are using it, and so on. But I think that when I created version 2, I went too far saying that these are schemas. I went too far. Maybe for the simplicity, for me it was simpler. It's just, yeah, it's a schema. It's already there. But it's offering way too much capabilities, and now it's a problem.
But don't you think it will also, on the other side, if you change what a parameter or how a parameter is defined and even a header, don't you think that it also complicates the spec itself to be more complex to understand and remember where what fits what? For example, that you need to remember that parameters can only be 5 keywords, let's just say 5 keywords, instead of having the full just a JSON schema, even though that you don't use all of those keywords or most of them.
We make these keywords the same as in JSON schema. That's it.
Sure.
So you don't have to remember them, and no, you're not going to use any other ones.
But if you need to understand the spec and read the spec file, like yes, the spec document, you would have an entire section only for defining that specific sub structure.
Yeah, that's completely fine. It's just what, 5, 6 keywords. It's not a lot.
We have it with variables for servers anyway.
Yeah.
And nobody complains really.
Yeah.
And it's like the same case. It's like example, default, enum, description.
Yeah, I haven't actually.
Yeah, in fact, it looks more or less what you are saying.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That we should make the 2 things the same. Maybe give a little bit more power to those. Like maybe you can have minimum and maximum if it's a number, but they cannot by any means be an object or an array, because how is it supposed to be serialized then? There are many ways to serialize an array to string. So if we support arrays, then we should be saying how this should be serialized to string, because the channel is a string in the end, right? So it has to be serialized as a string at some point. So if type is array, then we also have to specify, and the way you serialize it is like this, because there are multiple ways to serialize an array. So I will not even do it at all, because why will you want to have an array and a channel name, right? And a channel address.
Don't you find it weird that we have it, like, I haven't seen one issue about it, like anyone complaining about it or having it being too complex? I haven't heard anything.
No, it's the other way around. I'm complaining about it now. It's the other way around. Like, it's so complex that now, if we leave it as a schema, then people will be able to point to Avro or to whatever other kind of schema, and we will have to implement it. Right? So that's what I mean. It's not, I am the first person complaining about it. Of course, nobody complains because it's, yeah.
Because probably nobody uses it beyond the basics. Because we don't, like, I don't think we would be even able to handle type object if somebody would use it.
We don't even know how to implement all of this. Like, we always use the same keywords, more or less.
More or less, yeah.
The only difference I see is that headers are in the root always defined as object. So you're gonna have some kind of not mismatch, but some complexity.
Yeah,
there.
We have that rule on headers that it has to be a type object. Yeah, that's the only. It has to be a map of properties, an object, right? That's the only thing that we. Yeah, because there are, I mean, no other system, no system in the world supports, I don't know, headers as an array or headers as a boolean. It's always a map of string, actually. It's always a map of strings and strings. Those string values might be numbers being serialized as string, but yeah, it's like, okay, fair enough. Let's just give people the chance to do it. To use string to any.
Will the string
But-
always in headers? Will the string value or the header value always be a string?
I think that's the case for every system, but I haven't checked. But I don't recall being able. I mean, if you can pass a number, you can pass the word true or false, but I think they will be sent as a string, not as special values or anything like that. I may be wrong, and there might be some systems which have more than one type, instead, just not just strings. But yeah, I honestly doubt it. But yeah, might be. Who knows? Again, it's just you can pass a number, but as a string. We can still live it. We can live it as a map of string to how's it called? How are the basic types usually called? Numbers, strings, booleans, how are these called? Primitives.
Wow.
Yeah, so we can have string to primitives, but now object or arrays or anything like that. Nothing more complex. And then you can give it some meaning. Okay, this is a number that has this minimum and this maximum and so on. You might want to apply whatever rule you want to apply there, whatever. But that's it. Only primitives, because they're only, yeah. I mean, maybe you want to have an array as a string, as a header value, but in any case, we will have to explain how you serialize it. How do you serialize this array or an object as well? How do we serialize an object? Is it going to be the JSON representation, or is it going to be separated by commas, or by what?
And this suggestion is in alternative of both headers, payloads, and parameters all refer to the same schema object, right, within the spec.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that at the very least, I think at the very least, several variables and channel parameters should not be schemas, should not be should not be defined with a schema object.
Yeah.
Then headers is arguable, but we can put constraints there. Whatever format you use, Avro, whatever, it has to be a map of strings to primitives of this kind, blah, blah, blah. And that's it. If it's JSON schema, you know how to do it. If it's Avro, you know how to do it. If it's protobuf, the same thing. But a header a headers object cannot be a number, because and a property cannot be an array or an object. So it cannot go deeper than just one level of properties, or properties or fields or items, or how you call it in Avro and other formats, right? So because that's too much, I will put it just a definition there. It can still be referencing a schema, but not whatever schema. So implementations should fail if they find something else. Implementations, I mean, parser actually should fail if it finds something else. So yeah, that's my point. And I guess that goes hand in hand with what Heiko was saying. Maybe he detected that you could be using other type languages or other schema formats for all these parts of the target. What, Lucas?
Sorry, because I'm in real time watching the status page for GitHub. And they wrote nice message like, "We are seeing signs of recovery." I'm wondering what signs do they see? But yeah, it sounded.
Yeah, someone brought me a beer, so I'm seeing sign of recovery. Yeah.
Can we get any progress on that issue without Heiko here?
Which one?
The one with, because this discussion is directly related to how we want to reuse schemas, right? Because we want to reuse schemas with schema format together, it makes the problem, or all of a sudden, then the problem of headers and parameters are included in this scope of the issue, right?
Yep.
So my question is more or less, how do we figure out whether headers and parameters are or should be included in the scope of that issue and discussion, or whether it should be split out because we want to solve it differently?
I think it will be split out, because actually Heiko can just focus on saying that on doing these reusable schema formats and so on, of different formats, and that's it. That's all he will have to do, and then on a separate PR, we just remove the from server variables and from schema and from channel parameters, we remove the reference to schema object. Yep. We just remove that, and that's it. We cut there, and that's not a problem anymore. But we will have to add, of course, some explanations there, which is completely fine. Some tables there of the accepted fields, which is mostly the same that we have on the server variables. Might be worth to, I don't know, to extract as another object, maybe simple schema object. I don't know, something like that. Super simple schema object. We can call it whatever we want. And define that thing on the headers, that it has to be of a type object, with keys being string and values being only primitives of this type, this type, and this type.
Yeah. So basically, in that issue, we can only focus on payload. Like we just solely focus on that it's payload that reference to this new type, right? And then that's the only thing the discussion goes.
Well, not the new type, the same type as before. Yeah. We just changed the type itself. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and remove schema format from the message.
Yes.
Object, of course, because it won't be needed anymore.
Do you mind writing that on the issue? Thanks. so we have it.
Hiring slaves for this.
Next up, update, unless one of you has.
I'm gonna just pretend I didn't hear that.
I did ask nicely. Ish.
Do we have an issue for this separation of things? I don't think so, right?
We only have for the discussion about the schema format plus schema. We don't have an issue for header payloads or headers, parameters, etc.
All right, perfect. So then I'm going to leave a reminder here. I like it is.
All right.
I think there was issue about parameters because some time ago, Maciej actually wanted to do the opposite and push schema object to variables.
Yeah, there's one channel parameter location inconsistency. No.
But yeah,
That's
I think that might be this one or not.
No, that's the location thing. The location field. Actually, this one is from Jonas.
Oh, nice.
That would have been cool.
It wouldn't surprise me
it's
if I couldn't remember. So
inconsistency for consistencies for schemas in server variables and channel parameters. Yeah.
did I create that?
No, magic.
No. Okay, perfect. It's not just because I have a bad memory, so that's good.
Well, that's also true.
Yes, but let's not bring that up here. All right, little update. So in the last meeting, we talked with Alejandra about the docs changes. And she created this issue in the website repository that kind of encapsulates all of the different changes or major changes to the spec itself, and then split them out into sub issues. I've added all of these issues as part of the general to-do list here, just to keep track of who's championing what, etc., and the status of it. So I'm syncing it between these two issues for now. Yeah, go on.
No, sorry. I was just trying to scroll on the video
Okay.
on your screen. I was trying to scroll to read below.
Oh, I can send you the link so you can do it yourself. Here you go.
I was like, shit, why is it not working?
All right,
Anyway.
so yeah, so that has all of them. We need to figure out how we can push each of those things and move them forward. But I was kind of hoping that Alejandra would be here today, but we need to figure out how we're gonna do that. I also added 2 more issues, which is the migration guide. So we need some kind of migration documentation on the website of moving from version 2 to version 3. And then also the release notes as a blog post, basically. Furthermore, I've added another to-do, which is we need to figure out which tools need to be updated for version 3 support. I know that some tools already have it. I'm pretty sure Modelina is almost there. Might need a minor, I'm not sure. But we have all of these tools beyond this parser itself as well. So we just need to figure out what's needed and where, and which tools are already ready. Then I added all of the general stuff that we had from all of the other work releases, which is basically just about merging everything. But yeah, this one here is gonna be split out into, so I have a specific section only for having all of the tooling information here, tooling progression. I'm thinking about adding a section per tool to state whether or not it supports version 3 in its current state and what's needed, like in general, if anything is needed, and then ping the code owners with an issue or something and mark that as being complete to move forward. And to split out the responsibility, so to say. But I'll figure out when to do that. Sergio did some, yeah, you're already fixing this, Lucas, so I'm not sure about that. Not sure about that, but that's Sergio.
Yeah, it's not 3.0 related, basically. We're breaking it now.
Basically. All right, back to the update. I removed the entire back burner section because there's no back burner anymore. We have the freeze period basically in place. Besides those two outstanding issues, or 3, depending on how you see it, with the headers and parameters, but that's what that is. So I removed that entire section. And that's basically the updates I did for this issue. And then we didn't define anywhere that it was released for June. I've defined that in the issue itself, that it is scheduled for June. And that's it. That's the kind of progression update. We still have some outstanding issues for trades. Luke or Sergio said something in the chat, right?
Yeah, Maciek said that he hopefully can work on this weekend. But if not, Sergio will probably jump into it if he can't do it on the next week or something like that. He's just giving Maciek some time.
Yeah. And this one, Heiko basically not hijacked, but hijacked, and is championing.
Yes.
And there's still no agreement upon which specific change need to happen. And I'm not entirely sure what he needs to progress. And since he's not here today, might need an update next time. Not sure if any of you have.
Didn't we agree, softly agree that it will be under schemas, existing schemas section on components, right? That we will have something like format for the schema format. And then another keyword will be, I don't know, schema itself. And inside the schema keyword, there will be the schema. And that's it. That's all we'll have to do.
Might be, yeah. But I know that's one of the proposed solutions. That's all I can remember.
Yeah. But I think, but I know it's one of them, but I think we agreed on this one.
Okay.
But as long as we, of course, well, not as long. I mean, the only concern that was there is that we could then cross-reference different types of schemas.
Yeah, that's true.
Which you can anyway do it now, right? You can on payload you can have an arrow that will reference a JSON schema in one version that references another JSON schema in another version. So this is already possible. So yeah, but we might want to add some paragraph there saying that you cannot do this. This is not allowed, and implementations should not support it. That's it. I don't think we have to complicate our lives beyond that. As long as it's explicitly mentioned, then it's more than enough, I guess. I mean, if I were Heiko, if you're watching the recording, go for it. Make this proposal like this. If you didn't already, which I think probably it's already done on the spec, and if not, we can iterate there, of course, after this change. That's what I would do.
Yep. Sounds good to me. For request reply, we don't have any change in the parser yet, or even a proposed change. We do have one for the JSON schema files for the spec itself. I am not sure what is missing from this one. Let's see.
Well, we're missing a bunch of stuff from version 3 on the parser, so I guess, yeah, I don't know. once it's on the JSON schema file, then we can probably add it to the parser easily.
Yeah.
Or much more easier. I don't know.
Looks like Magic needs to do a few changes here. But other than that, yeah, we need to adapt the parser. Then you have this unify all references.
That's done. Yeah.
Also in the parser.
No, sorry, that's not done on the parser. Yeah. True.
Okay.
I don't know if it requires something in the parser. I'll have to check. Yeah.
It might be regarding, depends on how those old references with
That's the only
names
thing
were.
that's is scopes, available scopes. That's the only thing that's changing. So probably that's the only change.
But isn't this something? Yeah, it's this one, right? That's the main one
Oh yeah, now it
that
can
you
be
can now have.
Yeah. Yeah, true. That's another.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So I guess this is still outstanding.
Yes.
Do you mind creating just an issue for it? Just so I can track it here in the parser itself.
Okay. On the parser, you mean?
Yeah,
Okay.
just an issue so we can track it here when it's merged and introduced changes for.
Cool.
I think that's more or less that.
So that's not it. So the question is somehow also related to 2.7 and the protobuf. So do you know, like, so Heiko still wants to push it for 2.7? Oh my God, the addition of the schema, not schema, of the schema format, like recommended schema formats, blah, blah.
Yeah, you're talking about this official schema format for XSD and protobuf, right?
Oh yeah.
He said he wanted to push this forward at least. XSD, I didn't tag him, so I don't know if he wants to. But yeah, I haven't heard any further, and especially not regarding version 2.7 or whether he intends to do it for version 3.
Okay.
I don't know.
Because we still have this. So one thing is that we know that support for referencing Proto and XSD and other non-JSON can be done later, but we need to prepare spec for it as well. That's this $ref comment I made in this pull request from Fran. I'm not sure if you recall.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have to clarify that.
Clarify description and making sure, like opening it up for future that $ref is not the only keyword.
This one you mean? Okay.
Yeah. That it can.
Oh, I thought you meant the paragraph on the payload. On the message payload, there's a paragraph that might or could be understood that the one that speaks about Avro, inlining Avro as YAML or JSON, but not as a string, blah blah blah. Right.
But this I assume it's related to Proto to 2.7, right?
Yeah. So I wanted to. Sorry, I was doing something else and I completely lost track. But yeah, this one needs to be done on the protobuf related stuff. And
talking about this one, right, friend?
Yes, this one. Correct. Yeah. That's it. Sorry. I thought you were talking about this one.
But this one is not 3.0, right?
I just created it, so there's no target for it, whether or when it should be clarified.
I honestly don't care if we do it on 3.0 or 2.7.
No, I mean that it's not a breaking change. That's what I mean.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So
It's
yeah,
just
but,
an editorial change.
yeah,
So-
but the other topic I'm mentioning is it's breaking change is the updating
this
the
one, right?
reference object description. Yeah.
Oh yeah, this one.
So this, I mean, we like I can't imagine we're not doing it for 3.0 because we need to open it up. We need
Yes.
to open it up for more options in the future. Like,
Yeah, that's why I wanted to rename this $ref to ref. So we leave it super open and generic, and then we can just change it to whatever we want. But yeah, I think it's better like this. Like we just change the reference object, we leave it open as you said, and I think we should do it on 3.0 because this is a very foreseeable breaking change. Right,
yeah.
so we're already foreseeing it. So yeah, I think we should take advantage of this now and change it a little bit like super wide open.
But what do you foresee that we can actually change in the spec itself where it opens it up without being clear about what exactly we're opening it up for?
So right now $ref uses JSON pointer, right?
JSON reference.
JSON
reference, but JSON reference, but it uses JSON pointer, and you cannot use a JSON pointer for anything that is not JSON, right? So I don't know.
I mean, we basically have to specify that the reference object is not the same as JSON reference.
Yes,
Like
exactly.
that's what they do in Open API, and they do it pretty smoothly, I think. And they allow different keywords next to it, which is not allowed by a reference object, by JSON reference.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
So in the future, what we could do is that we have this $ref alongside with, I don't know, kind of ref or type of ref, which could be, I don't know, the schema format expected to come from this $ref. I don't know, like protobuf or XSD or whatever. So in this case, depending on this second key, $ref should be interpreted in one way or another. I don't know. It's one option.
Right. Okay. So what you're suggesting is that instead of having only a pointer towards JSON reference, we basically have more or less this that explicitly define these or opens it up more for us to customize it down the road.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, of course, without the
Gotcha.
summary and description because we don't need it.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically almost the same. I'll have to read it again, but I think it's going to be almost the same.
Yeah, actually, for now it will be just $ref without summary and description. It will be just $ref, but it will not be the RFC whatever, right? Or any JSON schema defined thing. It will be defined by us, and then we define there that it might contain other $ref. It's not strictly just for JSON schema or JSON structures and so on. So I don't know,
Gotcha.
whatever. We could put something there, and we can even add an optional field alongside $ref, which will be type or something like that. And by default is JSON schema, or sorry, by default is JSON. And if you don't put it, it will work the same way as now, but it will only have this value for now. But in the future, we might add more values like protobuf, like XSD, whatever.
As I recall, we also discussed instead of changing anything for the reference object, we talked about introducing something new for only the payload or the schema reference, as far as I can remember some of our discussions. So instead of having this one, also include something like you can reference non-JSON references. It's only in the payload that you were able to do that. So overall, in all other areas of the spec, you use the reference object. In the schema, like where you can define the schema, and in the schema format, there it can be non-JSON references. So we introduce something that's specifically only for that area within the spec and not for the rest. Because otherwise you might reference something like an XML document in the message object, where it's like, no, that's not what it's intended for. So as far as I can recall, we talked about that, but I might be wrong. It has been a while.
Well, we can do the same thing as we did with or that we want to do with headers, right? That we can put some constraints like paragraph saying that you can only use $ref in between the document, like, but only with the type JSON, right? Or no type, which defaults to JSON. So
Lucas, do you mind creating an issue for it? Sorry.
That will require change on the tooling, of course, on how we resolve $ref. We'll have to check for another field before resolving. But custom resolvers are already in place. So yeah.
As long as it's a superset of JSON reference, but we add some extended stuff for non-JSON, then tooling should work out the bugs in most cases, unless you use that new functionality.
And tomorrow it's a type XSD, and then $ref could easily point to an XML file, and using as the last part of the URL, what's it called?
Fragment.
The fragment. So the fragment of the URL could be an XML, how's it called? XML pointer. What was the name of this?
I have no idea.
XPath. It could be XPath syntax. So yeah, and it will work because the type is telling you that this is not a JSON thing. It's an XML thing. Not perfect, but it will keep adding on top of existing thing without breaking it, right? But we need to do this change now, otherwise it will be a breaking change, right? It will because then people will put $ref pointing to an XSD file, but there isn't this other field here. But it wasn't there before. So, well, no, it's not a breaking. It's not a breaking change. It's it will not be forward compatible, but it will be backwards compatible.
Yes.
Shit.
Lucas, do you mind creating an issue for it in the spec so we have somewhere to discuss it?
Yes.
Thank you.
I mean, yes, I mind. I'll just it's trivial task. I'll open PR tomorrow. I don't like pro forma issues creation.
Fair. You do you.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's finish it as soon as possible.
Sure. Anything you want to add to last 8 minutes? No? The only thing I have is for documentation. Like, we just need to figure out how to go forward. Because at the moment, I don't know exactly how to grasp that. I'm kind of hoping Alejandro have.
It's probably the same as we do with other stuff. There has to be some release branch where we can update docs. So it doesn't wait for the release, but we can already do the updates to the docs.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's figure out with docs folks. Alejandra, she's out now because she's on a leave writing book, so she's back next week.
All right. There's nothing else.
Yeah. Actually, writing book and taking care of little puppy.
All right. Well, 5 minutes what's it called when you are early? It's like calling it 5 minutes early. Isn't there an English word for it?
Actually, Google, GitHub Actions. There's a new update. The signs that they saw before, that were different signs, so they're still experiencing degraded performance.
Yay, dude!
So
we have so many problems with CI at the moment. I feel like we have so many problems with CI, where it's like either randomly failing or all of a sudden does something weird.
isn't it
But
the scale? It's
maybe.
just because more contributors, more often we release. That's why like this bug came up with semantic releases. Like
Maybe.
before, we never had it because you had one PR every few days, and now like it's like, damn it, it's like a machine that
Machine
I have
gun.
no idea how
It's a machine,
working.
actually.
It's a machine.
But yeah, let's fix them one by one. But CLI, it's different. They're just like, that's a different beast. Like
Yeah, I almost don't dare to enter CLI anymore. It's like anything
like,
leads to it.
but sometimes like with one PR from Sovik, he has it open for a few months, and all suddenly at some point of time the pipeline stopped working, and you rerun it as much as you want with clear cache, whatever, and it's failing on installation of rimraf package. So like, why?
Yeah.
And you see all the other PRs, they work perfectly fine, but his PR doesn't.
Because the clear cache button is just fake. Most probably. Or it's not clearing the cache that you think it's clearing. Maybe. I don't know.
But
yeah, it's weird.
What can you do?
It's weird.
I sometimes have the feeling with Netlify as well, deployment. That you do this, you have deploy and clear cache and deploy. And they usually take the same time. And then it's like, it's either not using the cache at all, or it's always using the cache. I don't know. But
Actually, I'm afraid of this button because once when I did clear cache and rebuild, it actually broke the page. It was working only because of the cache. So yeah.
I always do clear cache, is to try to start fresh, but I don't know which cache this is clearing.
Johnny Cache.
Johnny Cash, yeah.
All right, see you guys later. Have
Okay.
fun.